Greetings and thank you for tuning in to Mr. Story Channel, where you can experience the most fascinating moments on Reddit. It's time for our first story. Am I a jerk for not giving more money to my wife? I have an 18-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old stepdaughter. When my wife and I got married, we had some agreements, including that cooking would be her job since she is a stay-at-home mom and I'm the breadwinner. The problem is that my wife makes tuna sandwiches twice a week. I don't hate tuna, but at this point, I'm starting to hate it because of how often I eat it. My daughter hates tuna. She is not picky. This is the only thing she hates. Well, my wife claims that it's her daughter's favorite food, so we need to get used to eating it. Yesterday, when I came home from work, my daughter was eating a burger and fries. I hate fast food. She knows she is not allowed to eat junk food. I ask her why she is not eating the food my wife made. She says because it was tuna again. I asked my wife why she didn't cook anything else for her. She shrugs and says she has already cooked one meal and won't make another. She then asked me for money to go shopping for herself. I tell her I gave her money yesterday, so I'm not giving her more money today. If she won't do her job well, then why would I do mine? Plus, she just wanted money to buy a Gucci bag or something like that. I told her that since she is only doing the minimum and not feeding my child well, I'm also doing the minimum from now on, so no luxuries for her. She will only get the essentials. She got angry, called me an idiot, and said it's not her job to feed my kid. I said it's not my job to feed yours either. She is sleeping in the guest room now and won't talk to me. Edit. After thinking about it for a while, I made my final decision. I informed my wife that from now on, my daughter and I will be eating out every night. There is a very good restaurant with a diverse menu near our house that we used to go to a lot before I got married. We will be eating there from now on. As for my wife and her daughter, since they seem to be very obsessed with tuna, PB&J, nuggets, etc., that's what I will be buying for them from now on. Since my wife seems to be uninterested in good food, there is no point in buying other foods for them. That's all they get. I will, of course, continue providing all the necessities for them. But since she is not doing her job, I don't see a reason for her to get any luxuries. She will get a small amount of fun money, and that's it. Of course, she threw a tantrum when she found out and is currently yelling at me as I'm writing this, but I'm not going to change my mind. Let's see what the community have to say to Opie, someone said. NTA, but your wife sure is. Nobody needs to eat tuna sandwiches twice a week, but your 18-year-old daughter should be able to cook something for herself without resorting to fast food. I'd suggest your wife get a job to pay for her Gucci bags and work with your daughter on what ingredients she'd like her to get while doing the family shopping. This relationship dynamic makes me tired. I work, have my own business, and I make dinner most nights. Not tuna sandwiches. Dinner doesn't have to be fancy to be effective. And I'm not wasting my time making stuff I know my husband or son won't eat. If you are enjoying these stories, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. This helps a lot. Thanks. And for our next story, am I the jerk for refusing to validate my wife's irrational fear? My wife and I have been together for over 10 years, and when we're driving together and I'm behind the wheel, sometimes she will shout, "Slow down," out of nowhere and then say, "Why are you driving so fast?" in a critical tone, as if the way I'm driving is obviously unsafe. Usually I bite my tongue and slow down to placate her, but the thing is, the way I drive is not unsafe. Driving since '97, never got a ticket or in an accident. My wife is generally a good driver but much less experienced than me in snow and on gravel roads, and by her own admission, she has some lingering driving-related trauma. Yesterday, she came home and told me that her car was making a rattling noise when she drove over bumps. We got into the car, and I started driving down our driveway, which has plenty of bumps to hit. It's gravel and long. And I was driving slightly faster than usual to hit them hard to try to produce the sound she was talking about. Suddenly, my wife yelled, "Slow down. Why are you driving so fast?" I glanced at the speedometer and laughed, didn't slow down, shook my head, and said something like, "Are you serious? What are you afraid of?" Her response was, "I'm afraid we'll skid out and go flying off a cliff." Since that was physically impossible, we were going 25 kilometers per hour, 15.5 miles per hour, and there was no cliff in sight. Let me remind you, we were on our driveway, the same one we have been driving up and down for the past 5 years, I think I laughed and said words to the effect that she was being irrational. Predictably, she got mad at me for not validating her feelings, and I told her I wasn't going to validate her irrational fear. She didn't ask me to let her out, so I kept driving, and we survived the trip from the house to the road. Then we drove around for a while, listening to the car, before going home, where my wife sulked for the rest of the evening. We argue very rarely, but today the driving thing came up. Again, I refused to validate her irrational fear. We both got as worked up as we ever do. We're pretty calm people, but voices were raised. I told her how it annoys me when she yells at me to slow down, that it's insulting, that her fear is like being afraid of monsters under the bed, and that maybe she needs therapy to get over it. She said I'm the one with the problem because I get annoyed when she yells at me in the car, and maybe I need therapy to work on ways to not be annoyed by it, and that I should simply do what she says in order to validate her feelings, the way you do for someone you love. Eventually, we decided to end the discussion for the night because it wasn't going anywhere positive. She did her thing, and I made a Reddit account to ask this question. Am I the asshole? There's more to the story, but I hit the character limit, so I cut out a lot. Someone responded, "You are not wrong. Shouting at you out of the blue while you are driving is an actual danger. Not to mention, getting yelled at is not an annoyance that you have to get over. It's her badly treating the person she supposedly loves. It's very telling that she demands that you get therapy into tolerating her issues instead of, her solving her issues. You don't have to learn to live with shouting and hissy fits. She has to stop doing that and learn to communicate as a proper adult, particularly when she could cause an accident, which she should want to avoid since you are driving so fast." And someone agreed. Yes, this is a safety issue. The person driving has to control the car. When the passenger makes demands or requires that the driver take care of them, they are going to cause an accident. If she needs her feelings validated, she has to wait until they are out of the car so she is not distracting the driver. If she needs care in the moment for her anxiety, she has to get it from someone else other than the driver. How do you think Opie should deal with his wife's fear? Tell me in the comments below. Next story. My boyfriend, 26 male, burned my 23 female book. What do I do? I have had to rewrite this multiple times now, as I keep breaking down. I don't know what to do, and I am completely lost. So apologies for any spelling errors or mistakes, as I'm not in the best place mentally. Note that all names are fake so that he doesn't find this, hopefully. Now a little backstory. I promise it will make sense. 9 years ago, I met my boyfriend, Adrian. I was in 9th grade, and he was in 11th. He had moved in next door, and because we were too close for buses but too far to walk, he offered to drive me every day. Even after graduating, he drove me. We got really close, and he became my best friend. We started dating 5 years ago. At that time, I began writing my first story, and Adrian's mom, as an author herself, began helping me. Together, we wrote, edited, and got my book ready to publish. Then, in 2019, she passed away unexpectedly. Everyone was distraught, and I decided not to publish the book. Instead, I pushed myself more into work, working 16-hour days. And up until a year ago, I continued to do this. Adrian and I bought a little duplex and moved in together. We rented the other half of it to a friend of his. Now, I've been getting into writing again and have cut back to working 12 hours a day. Over the course of the last decade, I've been buying books. I've spent a good $3,000 on books and have like 175 of bought myself at this point. I have another 50 that I got from his mom before she passed and also left in the will for me, and then a handful from friends over the years. The last time I went through them, I had 300 books. Now I know this might seem intense, but I have read almost every single one of these. Whenever I get a chance at work, when I have a day off, or when I can't sleep, I read. Reading is the way I cope, I guess. Adrian knows how important my books are. He knows how much time, money, and energy I've put into getting them all and keeping them looking good. He himself has read a good bit about them and helps me take care of them. Last week, we got into an argument. I don't remember what it was about, just that it lasted from the time I got off until almost noon. So at the very least, it lasted 7 hours. Most of it was him screaming at me. I don't know if I fell asleep or what, but I genuinely don't remember any of it. However, it did end with him storming out of the house and leaving. I spent the rest of the day in a haze, and immediately I went to the spare room and started reading. It wasn't until he came in an hour before I had to leave for work that I stopped reading. When I got off work the next morning, I immediately went home, took a shower, and fell asleep. I woke up to the fire alarm going off, and my husband was frantically running around, trying to get them to stop. Immediately, I went into the spare room to see if everything was okay. My books, specifically the shelf that had been gifted to me, were smoking. Some of them were on the floor. I asked him what had happened, and apparently he was playing with this new flame torchlighter when it caught one of my books on fire. It was on the top shelf, so while it wasn't too bad and he was able to get them out, there were a few books, the ones he read, on the floor. I asked him what book caught fire, and he didn't respond. Instead, he just teared up and pointed. On the ground was the book his mom and I wrote together. I lost it. I asked him to leave, and when he tried to refuse, I threatened to call the police. It took 5 minutes of us arguing before I burst into tears, and he finally left. It's been almost a week now. I haven't responded to him at all. I changed the locks on the house and even informed his friends that if they let him into my part of the house, I'd have all of them arrested. Last night, his father called me. We talked, and while he said that he understood why I was hurt, he thought I should let Adrian come back and try to fix it. I don't know if I can, though. I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know what to do, and I just need advice. So, what do you think? Is Opie justified on how she is reacting? Next story. How do I tell my 28 female, boyfriend 32 male that I don't want to go to our baby shower? So I'm 33 weeks pregnant. When we first found out, his mom and her sister-in-law did brujeria, which is Mexican sorcery, to find out it was a boy, and she bought boy centerpieces. She said if it was a girl, she'd paint them pink. It rubbed me the wrong way, but I thanked her and tried to be grateful. I don't believe in witchcraft. It's probably just a coincidence, but it turns out we're having a boy. His mom has group chats with her sisters, discussing shower themes and ideas without me. I shrugged it off, as she's excited for her first grandchild. She would even make comments about how the baby is hers, that the party was for her family, and that my family does their own because her family, her husband's family, co-workers, and church friends are over 100 people. I told her I never wanted a baby shower or a gender reveal because I don't like crowds or being around a lot of people. She didn't say much about changing the subject and said she wanted it in May because of the weather, and she's going on vacation in June. She said she didn't want it on Mother's Day, a Sunday, so maybe the weekend before or after, but we'll figure it out. I never set a date, but I assumed it would be a Sunday. I told her my boyfriend works on Saturday, and we have games. She laughed and said he could call off, and we could miss. A few weeks later, she sends us, along with only her family, the invitation. Everything on it except our names. My boyfriend calls her, saying she never told us the date until now, and my firstborn had competition that day, and my mom had surgery the day before. He asked why we couldn't do it on Sunday. She starts screaming at him and gets mad, saying she told us the date in advance and her husband works on Mondays. She threatens to cancel the whole party and says my baby can just skip his class. My boyfriend went to bed crying. She called me the next day and said she didn't want to be a meddling mother-in-law and if we could please do Saturday because everyone already knows. Her family knew for 2 weeks before the invitation was sent, and she already requested the day off at work. She doesn't want to cancel the shower because she already bought centerpieces. I just tell her to go ahead with her plans, and I will be late. I went to her house a few times after, and each time she made comments, saying nobody's helping her. So one of the times we stay late until 10 p.m., my baby had school the next day, mind you, is to help her finish her centerpieces. Next time we went over, she made the comment that her husband and she were the only ones contributing financially. And if we want to invite anyone, we should just throw our own party. I just stay quiet. Maybe because of the hormones, I get upset and call my mom after. My mom tried to explain why she's acting like that, and then she offered to make our own little shower. My sister and cousin get on a call, and we make plans, throw around ideas, and come up with a theme. So now we can invite our friends and coworkers, and my boyfriend seems to like the idea. So I just stopped going to visit and help with his mom's party. I haven't seen her for over a month, and I didn't go visit her on Mother's Day. But I pushed my boyfriend to go see her and to talk to her almost every day. The baby shower is tomorrow. My mom's surgery was today. We had to wake up early, and I was at the hospital for 9 hours. Then I helped my mom with eating and cleaning and came home. How do I get out of going to the party? I want to tell them I'm sick or need to take care of my mom. Update. So, naturally, he was upset about the post and about my opinion, and he is currently denying she said any of this. He wants to make a post from his POV, so we'll see if he does. His gaslighting has gone so far as to say his mom did nothing wrong, and he did not know about my mom's surgery. It's literally driving me insane, and he's now sleeping on the couch by choice. I understand his need to want to protect his mom, but I'm getting to the point of leaving him. Like I've told him, I'm not asking him to disrespect her or cuss her out. I'm asking him to set boundaries and talk to her about the way she's been acting the last few months. I've done my best, up until now, not to make him feel like he had to choose. Some people in the comments were saying I'm wrong for pushing him towards or forcing him to talk to her. Believe me, he will never go to NC with his mom. I wouldn't be able to pry him away from his mom, even if I wanted to. Which I do not, because I now have 2 sons, and again, I would hate for them to be in that situation. To clarify my comment, I stopped going to family parties, and I myself have gone to NC with his mom. But I think he's making up excuses for me, so they probably think nothing's wrong. He's stated he doesn't want to go to family parties alone, or if he tries to go see his parents and sees I'm not going, he'll just stay home. He has a big family and loves being around them. Because I love him, I encourage him to go see them without me. Again, I can't force him to do anything he does not want to do. He always comes back in a better, happier mood. If he ever chooses to go to NC, I will support him, but I highly doubt it. I do not expect that from him either. As for the baby shower, I told him the night before that I wasn't going. He was upset and said he never asks me for anything, and this would mean a lot to him. He got off work late and got home when it was dark. I didn't ask what was said, but he came home with red eyes and said his mom called and went off on him for not being there. I went through with all my original plans that day and had zero intentions of going and letting him go by himself. However, when I was helping my mom, she said she raised me better than to not show up and at least act grateful, if not for my MIL, then for the guests who showed up. She also said she was not handicapped and did not need me to stay there. My sister and my uncle had also gone at staggered times to help her, so I got my son and myself ready, and we all got to the party about an hour after he got home from work. His dad had said his mom had been crying about us not showing up. She didn't say anything when we got there, and I pretty much tried to keep my distance from her. We stood for a couple hours and said our thank yous, and he helped clean up a little bit. He was very happy. The only reason I pressed the issue afterwards was because his mom had been telling, I'm not sure who they were, about where we were living and that she hadn't gone because we hadn't invited her. We moved in January, and she never came over to see it. He went over the next day to help his dad clean up, and she invited herself over to our place this upcoming weekend, saying she didn't know where we lived. He showed her the text he sent her about our address months ago. She just ignored it and asked what day she could come over. He told her Sunday, and we argued later that night, resulting in our current situation. I intend to stay in NC with her, and she is not welcome here or at the hospital. He's been working 15+ hours a day this week, and we haven't had time to talk. Honestly, I don't even know what to tell him and am uncertain of our future together. I didn't want to update because, 1, nothing has been resolved. I shouldn't have gone. 2, I've been working on the invitations for my baby shower and my son's birthday party. And 3, so many people saw this, and I hope his family doesn't connect the dots and start more drama. She's intolerable as ever, and I do not want to give her another reason to play victim and throw a tantrum. Well, looks like Opie have a lot to discuss and some boundaries to set with her boyfriend and mother-in-law. What would you do in her place? Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in and watching until the end. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you saw and want to stay updated on future content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when I release new videos, and you'll be helping to support my channel. So, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and let's keep this journey going together. Thanks again for your support.